Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All today's guests, including Craig Button, standing by, are brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Book your stay at the Bayside and enjoy the many amenities the hotel has to offer, such as oceanfront rooms, free parking, oceanfront restaurant, cafe, indoor and outdoor swimming pools, gym, and more. Call 250-248-8333 or go to their website, BaysideResortParksville.com. As we bring in TSN Scouting Director Craig Button, as always on a Tuesday. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, but that is some kind of fantastic shirt Rick is wearing.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's a nice shirt you got on, Craig. Beautiful.
Well, I just a little bit bright. I mean, yours it's striking.
I have to say that you're not the first person to compliment him. Our inbox is full of compliments for Rick's shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not surprising.
Hey, before we get into the Canucks, Craig, Sidney Crosby is a point-a-game player for a 19th straight season, tying him with Wayne Gretzky for the all-time mark in that category. What keeps him going and so productive at 36 years old?
Well, it's an innate drive and determination to be the best he can be every single day. And, I know Mike Sullivan has talked about this, while he's coached Sidney since 2015. He says, he pushes himself to failure. And he's always working on things. And he sets a template for every single one of our players. Because whatever he's working on, he knows that to have excellence and to excel at it, he's going to have to go through that learning curve, and he's not afraid to fail to get there. From the day he entered the league in 2005, right up until last night, he hasn't had any drop in his competitive drive. You keep watching for signs that, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a fall off. I see none. In fact, I see this continued evolving of a player, continued progress, trying different things. The game when he entered in 05 is very different than the game now in 2024. And he's adapted and adjusted remarkably well. And that's what allows you to be a point-a-game player for 19 straight seasons. It's not just the talent, it's the determination and something that drives you every single day to be the very best you can be. And Sidney has been all of that and more.
And maybe not this season, but from what I hear, that drive is infectious, and it helps the rest of the Penguins as well. Hey, Craig, moving on here to the Canucks, a lot of buzz in this town about the playoffs, but also about Dakota Joshua. What do you think the Canucks have in Dakota Joshua, who was fabulous against Anaheim on Sunday?
He really was, and I think when Dakota kind of established himself as a player in the lineup, he added something that certainly that Rick Tocchet really valued and wanted to see from his team, and certainly something that isn't very common amongst players. I mean, he's big, he's strong, he's assertive, he scores in and around the net area. And when you have somebody that can occupy the attention of opponents in so many different ways, that's a player that can help your team in so many different ways. And Dakota has absolutely done that. For some players, it takes a little bit longer to find your stride, to find your game, and to really be comfortable playing it. And sometimes the intersection of player getting to that point and coach looking for exactly that and valuing it. Make no mistake about it, Rick Tocchet values what Dakota Joshua brings. It's been a great intersection. It's been a great marriage. And certainly when you look at that type of a player, the Vancouver Canucks know what they have, but certainly teams around the league are going to be looking at that type of a player, and specifically Dakota, and maybe try to find a way to get him as a free agent. But more than that, who are the players that might be able to be like Dakota Joshua? And this is my caveat. It's not just looking for players that might have the makeup of Dakota Joshua, who might have what looks like a Dakota Joshua. You have to have what Rick Tocchet has as a coach. You have to be able to say, that's what I want. I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to encourage it and implement it into my lineup. I think Rick has done a fantastic job with Dakota, and Dakota has been a real find for the Vancouver Canucks.
Hey, Craig, nobody saw this, but the Canucks did reach the 100-point mark for the first time since 2014. As you sit right now, they got 8 games to go. Looks like right now today they would play Nashville. Do you consider them as one of the top 8 teams that could come out of the West this year? I mean, there's a ton of teams. There's so many good teams in the West.
There is, and I'm going to go back to Rick Tocchet and his coaching staff. It's hard for me not to talk about Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote. I mean, Sergei Gonchar, I have so much respect for. But, one of the things that I think they really emphasized right from the time they got there last year was we are going to play competitively, we're going to play hard. So, the ability for them to come in last year and establish a template, the players left knowing exactly what to expect come training camp, and then it was met. It was right there. Here's what you got to do. And they emphasized it. The team got off to a fantastic start, but they never rested on their laurels. And I'm talking about Rick and the coaching staff. It was continue to push, push, push. Rick and Sergei and Adam, they're winners. And to win, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And they have continued to emphasize that as you move through the season, it becomes harder and the demands become greater. And you got to dig in. And if you want to be successful, and I think that the players have completely bought into that. And that's why the team has 100 points. In the summertime or leading into a season when we pick potential playoff teams, and I know for myself, I thought, okay, to compete for a playoff spot, I didn't see this. But you got to wait to see how the coaches implement things and then how the players respond. Magnificent. And Rick, no question in my mind that this is a team that can compete for a Stanley Cup. Because they fall right in with all the other good contenders, legitimate contenders, I call them, not only in the West, but in the East as well. And they have what it takes. Now you got to go out and prove it. You got to go in and do the things necessary to win in the playoffs. But I think they're positioned to give themselves a real good shot at that.
Hey, Craig, it's time of the year, NCAA players. The top one out there is Colin Graff. The Canucks are not in on him. What's your history with NCAA players? I mean, he's got, there's reports over 20 teams after him. But what's your history with NCAA players and the impact they can make eventually in the NHL?
Yeah, well, I mean, the impact is going to be the projection, Rick, right? Like, whatever you think. I mean, I believe that when you're signing college free agents, that there's zero downside to signing them, that, they're older, they've played a hard, competitive level of play against older, bigger, stronger players, which really resembles pro hockey. I don't think there's any question that when you're signing a college free agent, that player can come in and play on your American Hockey League team at the very, very least. Every NHL team is looking for players to come into their American Hockey League team and develop. Now, from there, you can look at it, and I mean, there's been different examples of, free agents that you thought were going to be really promising, other ones that maybe, exceeded expectations. But now you get a player into your organization, and it's about developing that player and giving that player an opportunity. And Colin Graff is a really good player. He's going to have to decide, where can I go where he has a legitimate opportunity to develop his game and to get in and to get that, where an organization is not only going to offer him the opportunity, he's going to have to earn it, but also where he's supported. And I think that's where a lot of organizations fall out of it. And when you're an organization and you're looking at the draft, and there's only 7 picks in the draft for the most part. I know picks get traded, but at the same time, the free agent, the free part of college free agent really applies here. And again, there's no downside, and give yourself a shot with some of these players.
Back to the Canucks, Craig. They signed Tai Mueller to an entry-level deal, 4th-round pick in 2023. He's from Cochrane, Alberta, center, 3 years at Nebraska, Omaha, speaking of college hockey. What can you tell us about him, Craig?
Well, he's another example. Okay, so the Canucks thought high enough of him to draft him where they drafted him. Now you're monitoring them, and what you're really allowing him to do is to go to the NCAA and play in a program where he can physically mature and gain that confidence. There's no question in my mind that Tai can come in and play in the American Hockey League right now. But now the next steps for him are, how do I go through an 80-game schedule? 74 or whatever it is in the American Hockey League now. But how do I go through that, and how do I learn, and how do I become that player that understands, this is what I got to do every single day? I read a really interesting article about Vladislav Firstov. I believe he was a second-round draft pick to Minnesota. He played college hockey at UConn. He went back to Russia, played for Igor Larionov, and he said what he didn't realize was every single day you got to get yourself prepared to be a hockey player. And he said when you're young, you're just playing. He goes, but when you realize how hard it is, that's part of the maturation process. And I think for Tai, just like every other college player, they're older, they're more mature, they're better understanding of that. And I think they're not only ready to play in the American Hockey League, but ready to give themselves a really good chance to try to advance out of the American Hockey League.
We'll see if we can get you a shirt like Rick's. Okay.
Oh, I would take it. I wear a medium.
Extra large for me.
Craig, thanks for this. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great day. I'm looking forward to that game tonight, Vegas and Vancouver.
Oh, of course.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Going to be a big one.
Yeah, who isn't? Yeah, they're going into some tough buildings. It's going to be an interesting final 8 games for the Canucks. Craig, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.